Hello, so this recording is focusing on balance of payments, which is a concept you will hear in the news quite a bit. And also it says a little bit about imports and exports, which you will know that I mention quite a lot within the unit because they're quite insignificant from an events perspective. So first of all, the balance of payments. One of the things that the governments and industry is often interested in is how the UK's economy is actually impacted by relationships with other countries. And the balance of payments is a way we actually look at these economic relationships with other countries. And, essentially it's an account of these transactions that we have with the rest of the world. So it looks at inflows of money, which are positive. These are our export earnings. And this is where events can be quite important in terms of people coming to the UK and attending events from other countries. And then there are outflows of money which are negative, and these are imports. And, if we go to another country and attend an event, then that's an import. So, if we look at exports and imports in UK trade, you can see that we from this diagram that actually we're more likely to import goods than export them. So actually, on balance, we import more goods into the UK than we export them. But actually, if we look at services, we export more services than we import. And that's where events sit. So events are in both of those areas of services, and we are exporters of services, and events contribute to that. So that's why we're quite important in terms of this balance of trade. So there are three main parts. If we're looking at the balance of payment account, these three main parts. Now, events sits very much in the first part, which is the current account. And this includes all the import and exports of goods and services. That's where events are. And as I've explained, if we attend an event in another country, this is a debit. This is an import because you're spending money overseas. Whereas when people come to the UK for an event, it's an export. And this is a bit where students often get a bit confused about that because it sort of seems the wrong way around in your head. And overall, the UK has a trade deficit, as I showed you in the previous diagram. It's negative for goods, but it is positive for services. So that makes this contribution of services to exports quite important. And then there's two other parts of the balance of payment account. One is the capital account, and this is basically the flows of funds in and out of the money. So this could be grants that the UK government gives for overseas projects, or it could be just a transfer of funds by migrant workers. It's those sorts of things. And then there's the financial account, which is to do with shares and property ownership, bank deposits and loans and things like that. So really, mostly, we're interested in the current account from an events management perspective. This I've just taken a few minutes ago from the Office for National Statistics website. Gives us an indication of the current balance of payments. Now, as you can see, it's negative. It's been negative for quite a long time in the UK, but actually, just recently, in fact, in the last quarter, following the impact of COVID, it's actually become a bit stronger. It's become a bit less negative, which was quite interesting. Now, issues in terms of imports and exports. If we actually depend in the UK too much on imports, and bear in mind that we do depend a fair bit on imports of quite a lot of goods, the balance of payment goes into deficit. And clearly the UK balance of payments has been deficit for a while. And essentially this means the UK is borrowing money from abroad or uses its foreign currency reserves. And one of the problems here is the exchange rate will fall. And the government, tries to avoid too much deficit too much because actually it will cause the exchange rate to fluctuate. So it's something that they try to kind of keep on track of. If we look at exports and imports, and there's rather a lot in here, but just to try to give you an idea of where events management might sit. So as you go down that list on the left there, you can see there's arts, entertainment and recreation, and that's one of the places it might fit. And you can see that there's the bar is larger for exporters there. It's also under administrative and support service activities because of, for instance, things like business events. And again, we are net exporters there. It might also fit under many of these other categories in part, but those are two of the sort of the main ones there. And then if we look at tourism trade balance, now, you're thinking, why am I talking about tourism? But of course, events sector is part of tourism. You can see the inbound tourism trends there, and the forecast that was for 2019, which will be updated shortly. And then some data on outbound tourism, and you can see that both of them have actually got some growth. Actually, if you add up the figures, in the UK we have slightly more outbound tourism than we do inbound tourism. So in terms of the balance with tourism trade, we tend to take more trips overseas than people actually coming to the UK. So there's a little bit of a net in the direction of people leaving the UK for holidays and for business travel, which is also included here. So, this is why events which actually attract participants to the UK are quite significant.